beautiful souls. Welcome to a new episode of Living Naturally with Michaela Live, where we talk about all things for living a naturally healthy life. Today, we are going to be exploring the fascinating realm of inner wisdom and how to uncover hidden insights and foster a deeper connection with ourselves. And my recurring guest for today is the lovely Marian Egan. So those of you who have been watching for a while, you know Marian. She is the creator of the Heart Art Magic Healing Cards, and she is a longtime holistic health practitioner herself. So she has a wealth of information to share on this topic, and as usual, I am always happy to have her on. So welcome, Marian.
Thank you so much, Michaela. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, awesome. So, as you all know, I have a recurring guest each week, and each week we talk about something different. So, Marianne is our resident, self-healing inner person. So she's the one that helps us to go within ourselves and explore all of that hidden stuff that's inside of us and everything. And she created these lovely cards that do a lot of things, including, just helping us to explore what's inside of us. But they can be used for journaling and so many other things. So we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But before we get started, I'd like to ask Marianne if she would like to draw a card for us today to set the intention for today's show.
Absolutely. Let me do that. Okay. Okay, so this one's called Gathering Focus. And it says, what do you need to focus on right now? Are you paying attention to it, or are you ignoring it and wishing it will go away? Pay attention and bring whatever it is to a conclusion. It may be a challenge, but it is better to deal with it and not let it drain your energy anymore. By gathering focus, you unlock the power within to achieve your greatest outcome. It is your first step towards turning your dreams into reality to create something extraordinary.
Awesome.
So that's the Gathering Focus.
Awesome. Yeah. That's a great card actually for today's show, for what we're talking about, because we're going to be talking about that inner wisdom and what's inside, and sometimes you need focus to even to bring about those things. You need to be able to focus within. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this topic is because many people, we ignore our inner wisdom or our intuition or whatever you want to call it. But inner wisdom, it influences not our physical, but our emotional and our spiritual well-being as well. And, and those who have been watching me for a while or following me, I talk about the connection between body, mind, and spirit, and how you cannot separate it. And one, influences the other. Well, so does this whole idea about inner wisdom and intuition. It forms who we are, and and it helps us to understand what is going on within ourselves, within our bodies, within our emotions, within our spiritual well-being. So this is a very, very powerful things that we need to develop within ourselves in order to have true whole health healing. So I love that we are going to explore this topic today. So let's just dive in then. So the first thing, I'd like to talk about is what is inner wisdom and what role does that play in our holistic well-being? So from my standpoint, being a naturopath and, the whole body-mind connection, to me, it kind of comes down to our physical body often sends us signals that align with our intuition, and it offers insights into our needs, whether that's emotional needs, physical needs, mental health needs, those are those things our bodies are trying to talk to us, and it's trying to tell us what's going on and what we need. And we need to have that inner wisdom in order to decode those signals that our body is sending. And some of those signals can be stuff like, tension or fatigue. It's like if you get tension in the shoulders, that's your body trying to tell you something. Or if you're tired all the time, that's your body trying to tell you something. So you need to be saying to yourself, why do I have that tension? What is my body trying to tell me? Why am I tired all the time? What is my body trying to tell me? Is there something I need on the physical realm? Is there something I need on the emotional realm? Is there something that I haven't dealt with that I need to deal with? Is there something physically that my body needs that I need to give it? That's why it's important for us to be able to have this inner wisdom. And so we're going to talk about not only the importance of the inner wisdom, but how we can bring that up some so we can see it a little more and understand it a little more. So, Marianne, how would you define inner wisdom, and why do you feel it's important in the context of holistic healing?
Well, it's so, as you were speaking, Michaela, I had this vision, right, of many, many years ago, looking at a documentary, and I said to myself, gosh, that's amazing. This documentary was of a newborn baby, right, being born. And the doctor put the baby on mom's tummy. And that baby, because of the reflexes that it came into the world with, crawled up mom's tummy to her breast so that it could find the feeding point, and it started feeding. Now, that's a newborn.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? That's inner wisdom. It's inbuilt. It's built
Right.
in. Right? We come in with it. Nobody told that baby what to do or how to do it. It just instinctively knew what to do because it's inbuilt. But, we tend to lose that as we grow older with conditioning and everything like that, So what you said there, your body, it's body talk. Your body is trying to tell you, look, can you look at this? Because this does not feel right. That pain in my tummy or that tension across my shoulders, as you spoke about, that's your body saying, can you have a look at this? Because I'm hurting, So having that awareness around yourself is so key to what you can do then to fix it. I mean, I had no idea before I came into all of this. I just didn't know. And who knows? You don't know what it is, you don't know until somebody informs you, So
Right.
this is what we're doing. We're helping people to make informed choices. So we do have the wisdom within, and it's not only listening to the wisdom, because it's like a sense of knowing. When you do something, it's right, or equally, it's not right. Because if it's right, you get a good feeling. If it's not right, you don't get a good feeling. You get the opposite feeling, So again, that's your body talking to you and saying, gosh, this really feels good, or this does not feel right, So your body's it's giving you signals all the time. So it's getting to a point where you're listening to the signals. So if I even go back to when you invited me to become a recurring guest, my first instinct would have been to say, gosh, no. That would have been the old Marian, the old conditioned, that I grew up with. But I knew that all I needed to do was say yes, because I just knew that I would just speak from here. There's no agenda. There's no, and like that, the information, because it's already in here, will just show up. Just like that example I gave you, it just showed up as you were speaking. It brought back that memory, So we have it. It's wired within us. We just need to pay attention and be aware and listen to it, and then act upon the information that you're getting, because everybody has that wisdom, and your body does have that innate intelligence within. We come into the world with it, so it's tapping in and staying tuned into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I, for one, am glad you said yes to becoming a recurring guest because you are full of a lot of wisdom to share with others that I feel like we need to know. So I
Thank
thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. So,
you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
all right. So, yeah, as you were saying, we are born with that innate wisdom. And that's a key thing that people need to understand. It's there. We're born with it. It's
Mhm.
there. We just need to learn how to listen to it. We need to learn what our bodies are saying to us. Now, I'm saying bodies because for me, I feel like a lot of the clues and the taps come from the body. Okay, they can come from other places too, but I feel like our physical bodies taught to us more than we realize.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep going, our bodies, our bodies. But yeah, it can come from other places too. But for
Mhm.
all intents and purposes for this show, we're talking about how the body talks to us and how we need to learn to listen to those clues, whether it's coming up again, like intention or fatigue or pain in the body. We need
Yeah.
to be able to listen to that. And many times when the body's trying to talk to us, it's not always about something physical that we need. And that's one of the things that I work a lot with people on is understanding the emotional and physical connections, and how many times when the body's hurting, there's something emotional going on because every physical pain has an emotional anchor.
Yeah.
And many times when there's something that's hurting you physically, there's something emotionally that you need to deal with as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's not sometimes all physical, but generally there's some sort of emotional impact that's going on with it as well that also needs to be addressed. But so it's important to be able to understand that there is a connection between the mind and the body, and
Mhm.
being able to tap into our inner wisdom to understand those connections more so we can do more for ourselves and
Absolutely.
be able to
Yeah.
help our bodies heal, which
Mhm.
is all that self-healing that we've always talked about as well. So,
Yeah. And in order to listen, and I think I might have said this before, and just to make another point of saying it again, if you jungle the words of listen, those letters will spell silent when you mix them all up. So in order to listen, you need to stop and be silent to hear what your body's telling you. Or it could be something, Michaela, it could be something that you overhear somebody in a queue in a shop, maybe you overhear somebody saying something, and it triggers
mhm,
a response or a memory. Or you could be watching TV and something that somebody says on the TV, and you kind of say to yourself, gosh, that's just after reminding me. So it can be those little triggers as well as the pain element. I remember a few days ago taking some time off. I had been really, really busy, and I was on a mission to get a certain amount of work done in the day, and a certain time came. I think it was the afternoon came, and it was like my body just went, "I'm done. That's it." And even though I was saying to myself, "Now, Marian, there's so much more hours in the day. You could get an awful lot more done." And it was like, no, it's telling me that I need to stop and take some time for me. You know.
yeah,
And I did. And do you know what? I got it done the next day, and probably got it done quicker the next day, because I probably would have, if I'd have pushed against my body's wishes, it would have taken me longer. It
mhm,
would have frustrated me. I would have got more, you know, upset or whatever it might have had a negative effect.
right,
Whereas I was right, and this is what I'm doing now, is I'm doing what we're talking about. I'm listening to what my body wants, what it needs, and I'm giving it, and it'll all work out in the end anyway.
yeah,
But you do need to take that time.
Right. Exactly. Which brings me actually to our next point, which is, tools that we can use for accessing our inner wisdom. So, um,
Mhm.
I find that many people struggle to tap into their inner wisdom because life gets noisy and we're always moving. We're constantly going, we're in a digital age and it's like we're connected, 24/7. And I feel like all of that external noise can sometimes drown out us being able to listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I'd like to explore some tools that people can utilize in order to tap within to get to that inner wisdom. Like for me, some of the things that I often recommend are things like quiet time or mindfulness, sitting quiet, deep breathing, and even journaling to calm the mind down. Or one of my other favorites is actually grounding. I love grounding. Even when the weather's bad and you can't go outside, you can always use like a grounding mat, or you can just, sit on your mat and be quiet and just imagine yourself being rooted to the ground. I mean, there's so many really good exercises, but I think it's very important for us to take that moment, as you said, to be silent, to be able to listen. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to push the outside out. So what are some tools that you recommend for people to be able to access their inner wisdom?
Well, it could also, like, along with what you're saying, it could also be going for a walk in nature.
Yes.
And if you were lucky enough that you could come across a tree, that you could stand with your back to the tree, and you can imagine, in order for that tree to be upright and standing, the root system of that tree is so massively amazing. It's gone right down into the ground. And you can do like what you were saying, is imagine you're putting your roots down into the ground along with the tree. You're grounding yourself, but you can do that sitting in your armchair as well. You don't
Yeah.
have to go to nature to do it. But that's one thing for me. What I love doing is cycling. Now, having said that, I've only been on the bike once this year, and that's when I was abroad with my daughter. But our weather's too bad to go out on the bike right now. But cycling for me, another one for me. I love knitting. I sit
Mm.
and I knit. And as I'm doing that, I will have thought processes. Because as you were saying, when you're doing your breathing exercise, you're counting. Maybe you're doing your box breathing. You're counting in
Mhm.
front of, say, 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever it is. When I'm knitting, I'm counting stitches, so I'm still doing the counting end of it. But it's amazing because your brain has the capacity to count and also think at the same time.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we can do, but it's find something that you like to do yourself, something that you will do. There's no point doing something you don't like. But find something that you like to do and do that. That's the important thing. It's doing what you love to do.
Yeah, and that's a very important factor that you mentioned, is finding something you like to do, because there are a lot of good tools out there that can help, but if you don't like it, you're not going to do it. So, so what good is it going to do if you won't do it? So yeah, it's absolutely find something you like to do, and I think a lot of people get stuck in the, oh, you have to do something, spiritual, or they hear mindfulness and they immediately zone out because it's like, well, I don't know how to do mindful, that's a little too woo woo. And it's like, but mindfulness isn't woo woo, it's just, taking time for yourself and being quiet. It's like whatever that is, anything can be mindful. Like you said, it's like you like to knit. It's like, okay, knit,
Yeah.
and you focus in on your knitting, and that kind of quiets the mind as well. I like to crochet sometimes. I have all different types of creative things that I like to do. So sometimes for me, it's like, oh, I just need to sit and just be quiet for a while. So I'll just go sit on my mat and just close my eyes and just sit and focus on my breathing. Sometimes, my mind is going just 50 miles an hour. So I will sit and I will put in some music and listen to music. I find
Mhm.
that classical music is actually really good because for me, because I'm a very analytical person, and certain types of classical music has like mathematical tendencies to it. So it has structure. So that actually calms my mind, or journaling or, doodling. Any of those things can help you to be able
Mhm.
to focus in, be quiet, put the outside out,
Yeah.
and be about you. So
Yeah, and just be, because we're human beings, not human doings.
exactly, exactly, exactly. So those of you who are listening, what are some tools that you think that, you know, you could do? Think outside the box, okay? It doesn't have to be anything specific. Find something that you like and do that. Whether it's scribbling, doodling, walking, sitting, listening to music, crafting, whatever. Just find
Exactly.
something and take that time for yourself. Even if you start with just 5 minutes a day, take that time for yourself, and you will find that it does wonders for making change.
Absolutely. And it's so key to, because you cannot keep going at a pace. You really
Yeah.
can. And we have become a real pace orientated society, that um, even if you think about it, going back um, many years ago, if you wanted to connect with somebody, you wrote them a letter, and it took days to get there. And it might be 3 or 4 weeks before you get a response back.
Right.
So, now we just pick up the phone and we kind of get annoyed when they don't pick up straight away, or text and they don't answer. And I mean, that's a really good one that I'd like to bring to the, point is, if you send a text to somebody and they don't respond back, that's okay. I mean, that's a real true test of friendship. So when they do come back, you just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
It won't be, oh, you didn't get back to me, like I was waiting for a response. That's a real true test of friendship, when you can just pick up where you left off, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they didn't respond for 2 or 3 weeks. That's fine. They were in a place where they just needed to be, and like that, we're, as I say, human beings.
Yeah.
Just be yourself.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's one of the detriments of our current digital society is that, again, I said it earlier, we're connected pretty much 24/7, and you mentioned about, writing a letter, and it's like, even be on the phone calls, like you can send an email and it's there in like, 3 minutes. And, and people, I think we become this society where we expect instantaneous
Yeah.
reciprocation,
Yeah.
and that's not always so. And I think we do that with ourselves as well.
Mm.
And where which the next thing we're going to talk about is, barriers and challenges. And so this is a really good setup for that. I think we take that same approach with ourselves. We want to develop a new skill, and so we start to go through the process and the steps of doing it, but then it doesn't come to us right away, so we give up.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I need to learn to listen to myself. Okay, let me sit and be quiet. I can't hear anything. Oh, this doesn't work.
Uh,
Am I wrong? I mean, it's like, we're all a little guilty of that at some point or another, and
yeah.
in some degree to another. So, but I think that's part of, because the way our society has become with this instant gratification.
Yeah.
We have, we can get online and we can get things delivered to us, almost instantly. It's like, and so that has carried over into so much of our lives that we haven't learned to be quiet. with ourselves.
Or patient.
Or
Or patient.
patient with ourselves. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So so again, that brings us to the next point, and that's about overcoming barriers to inner wisdom. So sometimes physical and emotional blocks can make it hard for us to connect with our intuition. So, we're going to talk a little bit about overcoming those barriers
Mm.
because I do feel like this is something that we all need to learn. And because of the way our society is, we need to learn it, because we've come a long way since, as Marianne said, the newborn with the innate knowing how to feed, knowing
And
how to
where to
suckle.
find and where to find it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so now we've come so far from that now we have to go back and relearn
Hmm.
and be able to actually listen to ourselves to access what's already there.
There, exactly.
It's there.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to bring something in. It's there. We just have to learn how to access it. And sometimes there are barriers and blocks that keep us from accessing that. Things like stress in the body, or unresolved trauma, or even, as we've been talking about, societal conditioning. It's like everything's coming out from outside of us that we haven't learned to look inside of us.
Yeah. And that's so, so true because, even if I go back to my art when I was giving my art a name, as I said to you before, I called it heart, art, magic because the magic is my acronym for my ability to go into my center because that's where the magic is. We actually have the conditioning is within us. We just need to be able to connect to to it. But as you were saying, like, if you're faced with a challenge, sometimes the challenge can be an opportunity for change.
Yes.
You know, um, I'm a firm believer when I'm doing something and it doesn't work for the third or fourth time, I will actually say to myself, Marian, you're not meant to do that right now. Just leave it be, surrender, leave it be, and, take the time away from it. And then when I come back to it, it's kind of done like that.
Yeah.
So challenges can be opportunities for change. But the other thing too, limiting beliefs is something that we could touch on at maybe another time because,
Yeah.
again, your language will determine whether you're successful or not. Because if, when I hear somebody saying, well, I can't do that, well, they're right because they've just disabled themselves by
Yeah.
telling themselves they cannot do it, So everybody can, but, don't ask me to walk a tightrope because first of all, I don't want to walk a tightrope. And secondly, I would need training to do that. But, you know what I mean? It's you need to be logical too.
Right. No, I totally agree. And actually, limiting beliefs is something I work a lot with many of my clients
Yeah.
and it's one of those things that I often talk about as well, because as you said, those are beliefs that limit you, that limit your ability. So I deal a lot with people with chronic conditions. And many times there are limiting beliefs that are associated with those conditions, whether it's they believe, that this is the way things are, or they're never going to be able to heal, or this, that, other. And the thing is that if you truly believe that you will never be able to heal, you will never be able to heal
Mm,
because you are limiting yourself by the words that you speak and the thoughts that you think. So,
absolutely.
absolutely, limiting beliefs is one of those things in there too. And I would put that in the category of emotional blocks. but,
Yeah.
but it can, but limiting beliefs can also hinder like your physical progress as well. If you have like some sort of physical issue, physical pain that you're trying to deal with, what you believe about that can affect your ability to be able to heal or not and be able to move forward or not.
Ex-
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was actually working with a client just recently, and before I started, and there was 2 pain points that we were working on, right? Upper body, lower body. And I just asked her to say, I give myself permission for this pain to go, and I'm allowing it to happen now. And Michaela, before I even did anything, her pain went away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, not all of the pain and not all the intensity, but just by giving herself. And once her subconscious heard her making that
Yeah.
statement, her subconscious knew what to do and did it.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful we are
Hmm.
within ourselves, So it's what we're talking about here is pure and utter magic. Your body does know what to do.
Yeah.
Just sometimes we keep the negative programming running, which
Yeah.
stops us from progressing or allowing things to happen the way we want it to happen.
Yeah. I think we often put ourselves in a box. We put ourselves in our own box. So we need to get out of the box. So
Yeah,
and you said it, it's like programming. And those, programming, because I deal with limiting beliefs. Many of the times when I'm doing release work with my clients with limiting beliefs, we will call things like negative programs, because, I'm a
yeah,
computer person, so it's easier for me to help someone understand it by program. So it's like you can think of it as like an operating system, and you have these programs in that's keeping you from, operating fully. So sometimes you need to take those programs out and replace them with new updated programs, and
mhm,
those programs tell you what to do.
exactly. And that's the wonderful thing about what we can do. And I mean, I've apart from the studying I've done and that, I'm the living proof of putting it into practice. Because I do practice what I preach. It's something I do every single day for myself. And it's how I've gotten myself to where I am, because if I go back to where I was before, gosh, I was such a mess. So, so it's proven system that works. So, just if you're thinking about changing, then just give yourself that permission and just, take from this show what's going to help you to move forward.
Yeah. There's a saying that says, I don't know the exact quote, so this is going to be a paraphrase. Be careful what you say because you're listening.
Yeah, be careful of what you wish for. Yeah,
And and the limiting beliefs too, that leads into the negative self-talk as well, that can also hinder us as well. And we need to be careful what we're saying, because we're programming ourselves with
as you,
those words and those thoughts. And
yeah,
those words and thoughts lead to actions. So if you're limiting yourself, and you're saying, since we're talking about inner wisdom here, um, if you're telling yourself this is the way it is, then that's the way it will be.
exactly. Yeah. So you have
So
to be careful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just as
it's
you,
important to change that.
yeah,
So, what are some common challenges that you've seen people face when they're trying to access their inner wisdom, and how would you suggest that they overcome them?
well, again, some people will say, look, Marian, I can't do that. And I'll say, well, how do you know that? Oh, well, I just know. Yeah, but how do you know? Because they actually haven't tried. They haven't tried. So just ask the question, and how is that serving you? Is that helping or is it hindering? And then they begin to think, oh no, it's not really helping. So then if you talk about how to help somebody to reframe what if they say they cannot do whatever it is, and say, well, look, let's have it like a strategy, of what. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and it was about patience, and she was saying, oh, I don't have any patience. Um, and I said, well, look, it was on Zoom. I said, if somebody rang your front door, what would you do? You can't just instantly have them stand in front of you. You're going to have to get up. and you're going to have to put one foot in front of the other to get to the door, to open the door to see who's there. So it's a patient thing to even just do that. One simple step, one little step towards what you want to achieve. And incrementally, you're going to get there. It's like on a journey. If you're planning a journey, you know where you're starting from and you know your destination. But how do you get from here to there? You plan it.
Yeah.
And it's just one small step at a time. So you can change your thinking. And if you can change your thinking, you can change your outcome. And when you change your outcome and you get the result you want, you're kind of going, I didn't even realize I could do that, you know?
Yeah. But you actually have to start. And
Yeah.
you have to take a
Yeah.
baby step.
Maybe. It's like I was doing a painting one day, and I was looking at the painting, and it's interesting now because obviously this has just come to mind as we're speaking. This is me now listening to my inner wisdom, right? It was a painting of an owl. No, I can't. It's actually a painting on my fourth deck, which is not printed yet, so I can't show it to you. But so an owl represents wisdom, yeah,
Mhm.
which is what we're talking about now. And that's probably why I'm thinking about it. And I'm looking at the painting and I need a name for the painting. And for some reason, the name came, like motivation came in. Okay, motivation. Yeah, that sounds good. And then literally just a knowing. This is what I'm talking about, the inspiration and the wisdom. If you put a C after the A in motivation, what do you get?
If you put a C after
The A. So if you write down motivation and you put a
action,
C,
motivation.
motivation. So the motivation without the action will not get you anywhere. You can have all the motivation in the world, but if you don't take the action to carry out the motivation that you've been motivated to do, it's useless.
Yeah.
So I come up with this word motivation, which is one of my cards in my next deck.
Oh, nice. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. Awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the inner wisdom. That was just me listening to, what was going on in my head and what was coming in, and that just came out. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love how when we take the time to listen to ourselves, we get all kinds of good stuff, all
Yeah.
kinds of juicy things. Yeah.
But again, it's just about going back to what I was saying earlier. Just take one small step and say, okay, I'm going to start now just being more aware of
Mhm.
what Michaela and Marian are speaking about. And when I become more aware of that, then I too might be inspired by thoughts that come into my head. So I can remember the first time it happened to me. I was actually working with a client, and it was just instinctively, I just knew what to say. And I'm kind of saying to myself, where did that come from? So it was just, again, intuitive.
Yeah.
I started acting more on that. And I actually spoke the intuition that came in, I actually spoke it out, and it was spot on.
Yeah.
So I started building on that. Was my first little small step. And I
Yeah.
started building on that and building on that, So you just become more confident and just trusting, that's the thing about trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Trusting that what you do is right. Because remember I said earlier, if it feels right, it is right. If it doesn't feel right, your body will tell you.
Yeah.
That's all you've got to do. Listen to your body, because every thought in your mind has a physical feeling
Yes.
attached to it. So your body will tell you. That's your body talk that we're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. And awareness is a great starting point key. You have to build that awareness to even start recognizing those signals.
It's
Absolutely.
the key to freedom. Awareness is the key to freedom. Yeah,
Yes.
I think I put that on one of my cards. That's why awareness is the key to freedom.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So listening to inner wisdom isn't just about self-awareness. So we've been talking about awareness and, paying attention, all that kind of stuff, but it can also help us make better decisions as well.
Mhm.
And, because your intuition, as we've been talking about, it can guide you into making decisions, right or wrong decisions. As Marianne was saying, it's like you do this and you don't feel right about it. It's not the right thing. If you do this and you feel good about it, then that's probably the way you should be going for yourself. But being able to tune in to that is what's going to help you to be able to read those signals, because any decision we make, it comes from inside of us somewhere. And you were talking about trusting yourself, and I think that is where a lot of people fall short, because they don't trust themselves, probably because they've made other decisions in the past that didn't pan out, or they have some sort of negativity associated with, it's like, limiting belief of every time I do X happens, and so they don't trust themselves.
Yeah.
But when you start to build that awareness and you really start listening and you start making decisions based on how it feels in your body, you'll start finding that you're making better decisions. At least that's what I've found. Have you seen that yourself? That our inner wisdom can influence our decisions that we make, and how being able to tune into that can help us make better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, every time I've done it, and like even as I say, the decision to come on your show, when you asked me first, initially there would have been a no, and then I said, I'm not doing that to myself. No, it's gonna be yes, because if I'm speaking my truth, I can tap into whatever question you ask me. I
Yeah.
have the knowledge and the wisdom inbuilt to give the answer, and all I've got to do is trust, And since I created my card decks, I've been just so much better at that, because even today, like the cards that I chose for myself today, based on the intention that I set today, I,
Mhm.
I'm blown away by how spot on they are, and I wrote them. And I created them. But it was just so amazing. So I find too, with my cards, it helps me, if I'm looking to make a decision and I'm kind of not sure which way to go, I'll just choose a card, and it's amazing how it helps, because again, the frequency,
Yeah.
it's like you were talking about the music, and the music has a frequency. And it's
Mhm.
like the radio station, you're turning into a frequency that's going to help you to make the right choice.
Right.
Yeah, so I found that has really helped me in the past.
Yeah. And it's not about, oh, I need to make a decision, so let me pull a card, and the card's going to tell me which decision to make. It's
No,
more about tapping into the intuition and clearing your mind so you can create more awareness to make
the
the right
decision.
choice for you at that particular time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so there's a difference there. I mean, we're not talking about, oh, flipping a coin. It's like,
no,
no, it's about clearing the way, clearing the space,
yeah, hmm,
to really tap in to see what feels good
yeah,
for you at that
yeah,
particular time. So
hmm,
yeah. Yeah. And that can go for just small daily choices or even big life changes. And I know a lot of people might be reluctant. It's like, oh, when you have to make big decisions of doing that kind of thing. But when you're making big decisions, that's when you really need to really kind of go within and see what's there and
yeah,
pay attention, because those big life changes that you're making, if you're trying to make choices and decisions there, if you're not following your intuition, you could make decisions that you will later, regret,
exactly. Yeah. And
you
when
know?
you smaller ones, you build on you build on the smaller ones, and then if there's a big one that's needed, then you have the ability to make a better choice because you know what you're doing.
Exactly,
You
exactly. Yeah, the
know,
small ones helps you build up the trust in yourself.
yeah, yeah,
So when you get to the big ones, you can trust your own decisions a little bit better.
yeah. And again, it's trusting your instinct because your instinct won't let you down.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's that we're all born with innate instincts. And
Mm.
that's what we're trying to portray here is that we all have it. We just have to learn to access it and listen to it. And
And use it.
we've gotten so far away from it that it seems like it's a big thing to have to go back and learn that, or it's, or it's something that's woo. And it's like, but it's not woo, it's you. It's like I think I just coined something new there. It's not woo, it's you. Because it's you. It's inside of you. It's what your heart is telling you.
Yeah,
And sometimes we push that away because it's like ego and logical mind tries
get it.
to,
Stops
because
it.
and we have to learn to, and there's nothing wrong with ego. Okay, so ego has its place, but we need to learn to balance that, to be able to go within, to listen to our intuition at times too, for what our heart and our soul is telling us is the right thing. So
Yeah, and sometimes you do need to follow your heart, because your heart is in the right place. It's I think I said this to you the last time. My GPS is my guidance, pioneering solutions. So
yeah,
I go with my gut instinct, and I know it's right. And if I know it's right, then it is right, and go with that.
yeah, absolutely. So now let's talk a little bit about the importance of community and support, and support when we are building and nurturing our inner wisdom.
Hmm.
Because while inner wisdom feels very personal, and yeah, we're talking about how you need to go within, sometimes community can play a very important role in helping you nurture it. And it's not necessarily like necessarily group community, although, being able to be in a group of like-minded individuals definitely help you to
Yeah,
nurture the intuition. But even like a mentor or a guide or a coach can help you as well, especially when you're learning to build that trust in yourself and learning to trust your intuition. Sometimes it's hard when it's just us, because we're not sure and we're kind of wobbly about it. But then when you have someone just come alongside of you and say, no, you can do this, you can, and just that support structure, I think helps a lot. Whether it's like, workshops or group or, or mastermind, or, I mean, even me, I'm currently in, in, okay. So last year I decided to get out of all of my groups and stuff because I was in so many groups doing so many things. And this is my own personal story. So many things that I felt like I could not hear my own voice because I had so many people telling me, do this, do that, do this, you should do this, you should do that. And it's like, I need to be able to listen to my own voice for a little while. So I literally like dropped out of just about everything external because I needed that time to hear me and
yeah.
what I'm doing, where I'm going. And that's where
Oh,
this show came from. So that was part of being able to hear my own voice. But at the same time, sometimes a little bit of that's a good thing. So now I'm in another group, and we're more of an accountability group. And it's more of, we're just a group of people that are on the same track, and we're supporting each other, and just being able to check in once a week, and somebody going, hey, how's your week going? Have you, did you get your stuff done that you set your goals for? That
yeah.
little accountability can help. And when things kind of go off the rails a little bit, they can kind of help bring you back.
Yeah.
So I personally feel like some sort of community, some sort of support can really help you when you're nurturing, your inner wisdom and learning about awareness and learning how to trust yourself, even if you have to like bounce it off of someone else to,
Mm.
to help you to make that next step. I find that it's very it can be something that can be very good for you. So how do you feel, about that, Marianne?
I think it's a really good thing, um, to share how you're feeling with someone, but particularly if it's a like-minded person, they're not going to. I like people who don't. They're not judges. They won't judge. They will
Mm.
just support. Or
Yes.
they might say, "Well, look, what if you were to do it this way, or if you were to do it that way?" And you kind of say, "Oh, I never thought of that." So it can be an expert in the field, or it can just be somebody that's level-headed, that's not going to judge or not going to put you down or anything like that. But I think it's a really good thing to have someone that you can go to and you can just ask, well, what do you think? I'm just in a bit of, I'm not too sure which way to
Yeah.
go. And again, it's like it's, I suppose if you think of it like a tug of war, when you've got two people on a rope, and sometimes the two people on the rope is you. Will I? Won't I? I have a card, I have a card I created. I call it "Will I? Won't I? Do I? Don't I?" So community. If you had a community on a rope, and you've got people pulling with you and going with you, well, then yeah, you've got more support and more help, and someone that you can turn to. But be your own best friend to start with. We
Yeah.
talked a lot about self-care. Look after self first, and then, you know, other people will help as well. But yeah, it's good to have somebody that you can bounce stuff off, particularly if you're not too sure, because they
Yeah.
give you options. And particularly an expert, as you say, a coach or a mentor or a guide or a workshop or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's
good.
always a good thing. Support is always good. No matter, what you're doing in life, support is always good. And support can come from different places, different people, different areas.
Yeah,
Whether it's, a family member or another group or, or a coach or a guide or whatever, I find that support is always good because I think at some point in our lives, we all need a
somebody.
little boost.
Mhm. Yeah,
We all need a little boost, all of us. And anyone who says they don't need support from anyone, they are not really paying attention.
yeah, and you've often heard the saying, "A trouble shared is a trouble halved." But as
Yeah.
well as that, when you voice something, now it's outside of you. You're not
Yes.
holding it within you, so the tension is gone from it. It's like me and my painting. When I'm painting, it's outside of me now. It's no longer held within me.
Yeah.
So it's my mother-in-law, and she's a long time past now, but she was so wonderful. You could have a conversation with her, and she would say, "Well, now you could look at it this way, or you could look at it that way." And she had such a level head on her, that you'd say, "Oh my gosh, like that's incredible." As you say, a family member. It doesn't have to be somebody else. It can be a family member, someone that you can trust,
Right.
that you, yeah, that you're happy with,
Right.
that you can share stuff with.
Yeah. And that's the key too. It's people that you can trust to share your heart with. I
Mm,
think that's very important because
yeah,
unfortunately not everyone is trustworthy. So, you know, find
yeah,
a find support with people you can trust and that will help you to nurture your own inner wisdom and trust in yourself. So,
yeah. And it's a wonderful gift to give yourself, Michaela, is building, when you build the trust within yourself, your self-confidence will grow, your self-esteem will grow, you'll grow, and you'll feel more resilient and stronger, and that's what we're talking about today.
yeah. Absolutely. All right, so we're coming close to the end of our time here. We've explored how inner wisdom is essential for well being. We've talked about some practical tools to access it and ways to overcome common barriers. So, I'd like to encourage you, if you're having a hard time accessing or listening to your inner intuition, your inner wisdom, that you try to take some of these tools that we've talked about to try to ground yourself, to help yourself get, go within. I encourage you to, check out Marianne's website at marianegan.ie. Grab, a pack of our cards. I love her cards. I actually have her cards myself. I took her suggestion and started using them for journaling. You can pull a card and write and look at what it says, and then write about how that makes you feel, and that will help you to start coming inward. I also created a resource that's called 10 strategies to actually what did I call it? Um, it's oh 10 strategies um, to overcome barriers to inner wisdom. That's what I call it. I have to go back and look. It's been one of those days. So, and I will drop that link here in a little bit. If you're watching this after the fact, you can find it on my website at livingnaturallyforlife.com. Just look in the free resources section. It will be there. And so that is it for today's show. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you're listening live or you're watching this later. Um, we love sharing our heart with you. We love sharing our wisdom with you. We hope that you have been able to take something away from this that you can put into action. And before I sign off, Marianne, would you like to leave us with a little something?
I would actually, something that Aristotle said, because it kind of fits in with what we're talking about. And he said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. And all habits are repeated every single day." And he said, well, that's what Aristotle said. And I said, become extraordinary. Because when you keep doing little habits that are good for you, you will be extraordinary.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so that is it for today's show. And, please tune in again. And until next time, remember, wellness isn't a destination, it's your daily journey. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This episode is brought to you by Living Naturally for Life and Heart Art Magic. Comment, like, subscribe.